episode 82 of the We Were Athletes Once podcast. My name is Kyle. I am joined by Cody.
Hello.
Who just hit his knee on the table.
Toe.
And Cody, we're at about the halfway mark of the season. There's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of stuff we got to talk about. Some breaking news as of the time of this recording, which I believe this is only going up a couple hours after this is recorded. Where are you at right now with the halfway mark of this MLB season?
It's still interesting. I know a few weeks to a month or so in, we're like, man, this isn't what we expected with some of these races to look like and some of these players. And I think it's kind of holding strong. Like, we're still seeing teams like the White Sox and the Cardinals in it. We're still seeing Tampa Bay out in that division. So, like, there's some fun things that are happening. Yeah, I'm excited because I think this trade deadline is going to be very fascinating to see which of these teams that we didn't think were going to be sellers start selling pieces off.
Yeah, I'm also very interested about that because there's going to be a lot of teams that over the next, we're recording this on June 26th, so over the next month or so are going to figure out as to whether or not they're buyers or sellers. Our team is probably one of those. We've heard
fascinating.
We're both Cardinals fans, and for every winning streak that we go on, we think about what pitchers we're going to get, what additions we're going to make this team better. And then we go on a losing streak. We lose the Royals, we lose the Diamondbacks, and it's, trade everyone, send up all the prospects, very doom and gloom, which you kind of expect at this point from Cardinals fans. But at least gives us something fun to talk about instead of what most people, those idiots, thought that the Cardinals were going to be fourth or fifth place team in this division.
Those idiots? We're not included in that?
No, because I said the Cardinals were going to compete for a playoff spot.
I thought you were a little high, but here we are. I didn't think we were going to be awful, but I didn't think we were going to be competing.
Well, I seem to be more right than you were, but technically we don't have preseason predictions, so you can.
I'll own it. No, I'll own it. I thought we were going to be towards the bottom of this division and competing for a top pick in the draft.
Yeah, well, let's talk about someone who is at the bottom of their division and competing for a high pick in this draft. About an hour or two ago, as we record this, the New York Mets announced that they've fired Carlos Mendoza. Now, Carlos Mendoza's tenure as the manager of the New York Mets hasn't necessarily been a disaster. If you look at the grand scheme of it, he has a 206 and 198 record as the manager of the New York Mets since 2024. But this season, 34 and 47, their offense hasn't been able to get anything going. Their pitching hasn't been that great. They're a disaster on defense. There's no part of this team that's going right. And it even goes back to the clubhouse because we've been hearing reports over the past year or so about the issues in the clubhouse for the New York Mets. If there was going to be a managerial firing during the season this year, this is the one that we expected to happen. Cody, where are you at right now with Carlos Mendoza's tenure as the manager of the Mets?
I mean, it sucks to be him because this is the team that this offseason, when they were making all of these moves and we questioned just about every single one of them, we're like, this team is putting players in bad positions that they don't play. This isn't a cohesive team. They're just trying to throw crap at the wall and hoping it sticks. And it didn't. And Mendoza is getting the short end of the stick here when it should be the GM and ownership taking responsibility because they put him in a no-win situation. He had no chance with this team. There's already clubhouse issues. You don't trade either of the clubhouse issues, and then you just keep adding players and putting them at random positions and hoping some of your young kids can take a step before they're ready to. And it's unfortunate for him because I don't think he's necessarily a bad manager. Like, the things that a manager can control is the lineup every single day. He can't control what players are there. He can put them in positions. But again, you don't have a player on that team that played first base before this year. And you're just going to throw some random player there. And you've got these young kids that your owner wants, or your GM wants to play in the outfield before they're ready. Now, Carson Bench hasn't been terrible. AJ Ewing's been pretty decent,
Carson
surprisingly.
Bench has been pretty good too.
Yeah, they've picked it up. Bench started a little slow, but he picked it up, and AJ Ewing looks pretty solid out there. But again, these are things that probably shouldn't have happened this year, and a lot of this could have been avoided. I don't think we were the only people to criticize the Mets this offseason about their moves and question it. And now you're in the same spot you were before. You're about to trade off half the players you just signed this offseason. And are you going to keep your locker room issues still? Because they're still there. And it doesn't seem like those are the names that are getting brought up in trade conversations.
Yeah, Carson Bench this season, 256, 320, 398 slash line. It's a 718 OPS, and his OPS plus is right at 100. So he's been about league average this year.
He was.
It seems like he's been about league average defensively too.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he's been about league average defensively too. He has 1.3 WAR at this point at the halfway point of the season. So 2 is considered an average player. So Carson Bench has been doing pretty good. But yeah, I think ever since the Mets started to make the moves that they've made, almost seemed like it was I don't know, like there were a lot of reactionary signings to losing Kyle Tucker, to losing Cody Bellinger, to, all these guys that people thought they were going to be signing this offseason and them going to these other teams. It felt like there were just a lot of reactionary signings, and they were just signing players and not putting a team together.
Let me ask you a question. How do you think this looks differently if they just actually paid Pete Alonso like they probably should have?
I mean, I think it would look very different because there is a guy there that has been here for a long time. Pete was their franchise, the face of their franchise. He's been here since he got drafted. I don't necessarily know what impact Pete Alonso would make on the clubhouse, because you don't hear about him as a good or bad clubhouse guy. You just hear him as he hits homers.
No, but
he's a big, strong guy that hits homers.
Don't get me started. I just question what moves they might have not made if they would have signed him, and how
they definitely wouldn't have
the outcome.
They definitely wouldn't have signed Jorge Polanco because they would have had an actual first baseman to play first base. Beyond that, I don't know if it looks necessarily all that different. I think their outfield would still look how it does. And I think right now the issue for them is more the fact that you have multiple guys on these huge deals making $30+ million a year. And, Juan Soto's playing pretty well, but last I checked, I don't believe Francisco Lindor has. I don't believe Bo Bichette has. And it's going to be tough to and these are the guys, Bo Bichette not necessarily, but Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, these are the guys that seem to be causing the issues in the clubhouse. Again, from the reports that we're hearing, we're not in the Mets clubhouse, so we don't know.
No, Francisco Lindor's hitting .214 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs.
Yeah, and he's been hurt for a lot of the season. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like that is okay. Yeah, it seems like that has been their issue. It's that this is not a team. This is a collection of players. And, I do think Carlos Mendoza, based off of everything that I've heard from people that actually know him and have actually worked with him throughout the past few years, it seemed like there were a lot of high hopes for Carlos Mendoza as a big league manager, and I doubt this is his last shot. Like, I think he's still fairly young. I believe he's like 46, 47, 46 years old, yeah. So he's still fairly young in the grand scheme of big league managers. And, he hasn't necessarily seen what it takes to win a World Series. Like, he never won a World Series when he was the bench coach for the Yankees, but he has been around a lot of successful teams. I think he knows what it takes, and I do think he will get another shot one day. But I think the Mets are just a bad spot to be for your managerial debut. Because you think about the past few managers that they've had. I call Terry Collins a success because they at least went to a World Series, but I mean, he still had a below 500 record in 7 seasons as their manager. Then they had Mickey Callaway. That ended as a disaster. They hired Carlos Beltran just for him to not manage a single game for them, and they went with Luis Rojas instead. That was a disaster. Buck Showalter was a disaster. But they made the playoffs with Buck Showalter, but they also had a disastrous second season, and he was fired immediately after that. And then Carlos Mendoza, and he's again had seasons that aren't necessarily disasters before, but on a disaster season, he's getting fired after Dave Stearns and Steve Cohen have both came out and said Carlos Mendoza's job is not in danger.
Yeah.
What is the answer right now for the Mets?
Can they bring back Bobby Valentine?
No.
Like, that's their only good manager in like the last 30 years.
Yeah, but his last stop wasn't.
No, I know.
Wasn't the best.
That was a little sarcasm. God, this is a team, like you said, it's a bunch of pieces. They need to blow this thing up. They need to if you're gonna be this bad, let the kids play. Like, if you want Ewing out there, you want Benj out there, I think Lindor has to go. Like, you have to get rid of him. He seems to be the center of all problems, and he's playing like trash. So good luck moving his contract. That's the big problem. But I think,
and that's why you're not hearing a lot of.
I know, because no one
talks
wants
of trades. So how are you going to move that?
Then you need to move Soto, which I don't think is a great contract to move either.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to move either of those contracts.
No, they've put themselves in a crap situation, like, by continuously giving massive contracts to players. And my issue is, like, Jorge Polanco should not be a first baseman. You got Marcus Semien. Why?
And he hasn't been lately, I don't think. I think they've been more so leaning towards Jared Young as their first baseman.
Congratulations, not much better.
It's been Jared Young. It's been Mark Vientos.
Yeah, Mark Vientos was a better option from the beginning. So, like, you just keep throwing things out there. Like, pick a plan. You don't have
Polanco
a plan.
Might be hurt right now.
I don't care what the problem is. Like, you have to pick a lane and stay there. Like, this is a team that for years and years and years has been like, we're the Mets, we're in New York, we have all this money, let's just spend wildly. And there's no plan of action. We've traded prospects to get big name players that don't work out, and then we can never fully build. They need to tear some of this down and actually build. Now, my one question that I do have is, what is going on with this pitching staff? The relievers have been okay, but their starters, like, some of these starters should be a lot better than they are. So I'm questioning what's going on with that rotation. We'll get into it, but they just traded Peterson to the Cubs. Nolan McLean started out super hot and has cooled way, way down. Peralta looks like a shell of himself. Like, what? I don't know how some of these guys went from looking elite to looking like they shouldn't be in a rotation. But for me, like, what the next step, the GM better make some moves and bring in some prospects and start this rebuild, because he should be losing his job. It's bad.
And I think that's where based off of what I've seen, that's where a lot of Mets fans are right now, is that they're wondering why David Stearns has this long of a leash.
He shouldn't.
Because David Stearns was obviously like someone that was very crucial in the building of when those Brewers teams first became successful. And he's shown that he's capable of doing a lot with a little. But he hasn't shown that he's been good at doing a lot with a lot. Like you said, he's giving out a lot of contracts that don't necessarily make sense. To an extent, I guess they make sense, but like
some of them you can argue.
Yeah, but you have to do whatever you can at some point to sign Juan Soto, but a 15-year deal for $765 million for a guy
a DH.
For a guy who's going to be a DH very soon. He's been playing outfield, but he's not good at it. He's one of the best hitters in the league. He showed last year that he can run the bases. He went almost 40-40 last year. But he's also 27, 28 years old right now. How is that going to look at 37, 38 years old when you're paying him $51 million a year? Francisco Lindor is signed through 2031, and he's making $32.5 million a year. So beyond this year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more years, and he is currently 32 years old.
Listen, we're going to talk about the latest updates with the contract situation between the MLB and the MLBPA. I think one of the things that they suggested will never happen, but it would be a great benefit to the owners, because they would stop handing out these stupid contracts. There is not a good 10 plus million or 10 plus year deal in baseball. There's not. They will all age terribly, and then you're going to have a $30 plus million player from age 35 through 42, and you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
and that's what these teams keep doing.
Juan Soto is on year 2 out of 15. He is currently 27 years old.
He's going to be 40 when it ends.
He's going to be playing through 2039 with the Mets. He'll be 40 years old at that point. And at that point, he will be making $46 million a year.
And you can never trade that contract.
He's at 62, 62, 57, 62, 62. And then there's an opt-out after 2030, which he would leave 10 years and $460 million on the table. So he's not going to sign that.
Which, with what we're talking about with these negotiations, like, I don't think you're getting more than that in the future.
Yeah, and then after that, every year after that, from age 31 to 40, it's $46 million a year. Along with the 20% tax that they're paying on it. Like, you're not getting rid of that contract. So, like, maybe you can get rid of a Jorge Polanco, or you can get rid of a Marcus Semien, but you're not going to get anything for them. You might get something for Bo Bichette, because like I said,
they're going to trade Bo Bichette.
But I'm talking about, like, what can you really get for these players?
Someone will take Bo Bichette and give them something.
Bo Bichette, I still think, is under 30. He'll get decent value. Plus, it's only a 1-year deal.
Yeah, because he's going to opt out after this year.
I mean, he could just take the money that he's getting signed to, and it might be his best option, because I don't know if he's getting $40 million a year from anywhere else, especially considering we don't know what the landscape of MLB contract is going to look like after 2026. So it might. Plus, I believe he has an opt-out after each one of the years of his contract. So he might just. That might be worse for his trade market. I don't know. It's ever since Steve Cohen became the owner of the Mets, it's just seemed like they have been expected to be this team to go out and spend $100 million a year on Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, and spend $50 million a year on a Juan Soto contract, and make these big splashes. But whenever they make these big splashes, they don't work. Like they signed Verlander and Scherzer and traded them both within their first year of their contract. What right now we just talked ad nauseum about the Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor issues. There's just no identity for this team. And yes, and I think that's where, if there is any argument that Dodgers fans have and that they've had over the past how many years, mainly the last 2 or 3 years, where they've continued to win these World Series and then go out and buy more players, is that they are right. You can't win a World Series by just signing players and having, you need to have an actual identity with this team. And I'll give the Dodgers a lot of credit. They do that. They have a guy that is managing this team that is able to bring a clubhouse of these big personalities together that's making a lot of money. He's able to bring those guys together with Dave Roberts. But I don't know. It's also like, I don't want to make this a Dodgers conversation. I don't. But
we'll be there soon.
Yeah. I guess I'll leave it there for now, to where that's what the Mets need to do. It's okay to sign all these players, but you need to have an identity with this team. And that's just what they haven't been doing.
They haven't had one for years.
Is there a guy that you think should be the manager going forward that you can point out that might be able to do that?
That's not under contract with another team?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. There's not a lot of options. I mean, can Alex Cora do it?
That's one of the guys that I had in mind, because I think based off of everything that's going on right now with the Giants, I think it's very clear that the Red Sox issue was not Alex Cora when it came to that clubhouse. No. It was a specific player who might be overstaying his welcome on another team.
Yeah, there's talk of him possibly being moved too. I mean, your alarm's going off.
I know.
I just think about some of the guys.
That's my sign to leave to go to the gym.
Yeah, it ain't happening. Like, if you're looking at guys that are available that could be possible, like, what about a Rocco Baldelli? Like, I don't know. Like, that's the problem. I don't know who can bring this team together. Can Carlos Beltran actually come in and manage like he was supposed to at one point?
And that might be my most likely option in my mind.
So, like, those are the ones that come to the top of my head. Is Alex Cora, does he want to try and do that? Because he's been in a big market. He's been with big personalities, and they were solid. Rocco Baldelli, he's won Manager of the Year. But there's a lot of stuff where it kind of seems like he was very set in his way about certain things, and I don't know how that would translate with some of these big name players. And then Carlos Beltran has never managed a big league team. So, like, what is he going to do? But he's also a Hall of Famer who understands being a big player and how they kind of tick. So I don't know what's best for them. And I don't know that Steve Cohen knows what's best for them.
Yeah, I think the thing with Carlos Beltran is, like you said, he's never managed before, but he's been a guy who spent 20 years in a big league clubhouse. He's learned from, he's been in the same clubhouse as Craig Biggio, and he's been in the same clubhouse as, a lot of guys that you think of as great locker Yadier Molina. Guys, great locker room guys. Notice I'm not naming any Mets. David Wright. There you go. He's in the same locker room as David Wright for how many years? The issue there, though.
The last time the Mets actually had kind of an identity.
Yeah, was when David Wright was the captain of this team.
Yes.
I think the issue that always will come with that, though, is his last year in the big leagues kind of brought up a lot of questions as to how good of a locker room guy he actually is because of the sign stealing scandal and because of the fact that he's kind of the face now of that sign stealing scandal. And that's the reason why he hasn't been the manager of the Mets for the past few years. So you're going to have to answer a lot of questions that come with that. And I don't know if there is a big league team at this point that's capable and is willing to do that with Carlos Beltran. But
I mean, if there's a team that should, it's them.
Yeah, because Carlos Beltran did just get inducted in the Hall of Fame, or did just get elected to be in the Hall of Fame, getting inducted this summer, and he's getting inducted with a New York Mets hat on. Like, this is a guy that this team respects, this organization respects. It makes sense in my mind, because
I think he should go in with none.
Yeah, it was either the Mets or no hat, but
I think no hat. Like, here's the thing. He was awesome with every team he played for. He was fantastic as a Kansas City Royal when they were the farm system for everyone. Like seriously, if you look at that team of the Royals and some of the players that they had on that team when they were young before they traded them, that team would have been so good. But again, it's the Royals. They don't pay anybody. But the Royals, the Astros, he was excellent with. The Cardinals, he was fantastic with. The Mets, he was fantastic with. Like, I think he's a player that he was with enough teams long enough. I think he should go no hat.
Yeah, he had his longest tenure and his best tenure, though, in terms of his performance as a New York Met. So I could see it. He's most known, in my opinion, as a New York Met. It's just not for the best reasons. But it makes sense to me. But point being with that, he's a guy that this Mets organization obviously respects very much. And he is basically what people were talking about with Carlos Mendoza as, this respected guy who can speak multiple languages, who can, connect with multiple different types of people. He can do that, but with the benefit of also having 20 years of big league experience under his belt and a World Series and now a Hall of Fame plaque. Like, I don't know if Carlos Beltran's ever going to get a shot to manage again. He's, still fairly young, though, for a manager. He's not quite 50, I don't think. Yeah. I think Carlos Beltran might be the right person for this job. He's 49 years old, yeah. So, but it's just a question of would the Mets ever do that. But if you're a Mets fan watching, leave a comment. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know how wrong we are, whatever.
I don't think you're going to get a lot of Mets disagreeing with us right now.
Let us know that Andy Green is going to be the truth and he's going to lead this team to a World Series.
Sure. No one believes that. Andy Green doesn't even believe that.
Yeah. But now that we just spent 30 minutes talking about the Mets, let's talk about what the meat and potatoes of this episode was supposed to be. And that was that yesterday the All-Star finalists were announced. So
absolute joke.
if you haven't been tapped into what the All-Star voting looks like nowadays, there's a system of fan vote to where the top two from each position end up moving on to a second phase of fan voting for some reason. Yeah, outfield is top 6. And then if you are the top vote getter in each league, you're automatically put in the All-Star game as the starter at your position. Before we get into that, is this a better or worse voting system than just what it used to be, where it's the top person gets into the All-Star game as
I
the
hate
starter?
all of it. I hate all of it.
Okay.
No one likes this. I don't care, because fans want to have an opinion. I don't care. Fans are stupid. They
Yeah.
are. Let the players vote. Let the people on the field do it.
They have a say for who's on the bench.
Like, the players should get to vote. They can't vote for their team, period. They should get to vote. Because they're the ones out there watching these guys, seeing the effort. I think the players have a way better understanding of who should be there than us. And here's my problem with it. We're not saying, like, we're getting the popular players as always. We're not getting the best players. We're not getting the ones who deserve to be there. Right? This is my problem with all-star voting. We see it with everything. The NBA, who are the big stars? They're 50 years old, but they suck. But hey, LeBron James is still there because that's the big name. Or this has happened in the NHL multiple times. One time, and then twice in the last decade. One country basically put so much voting that they got their one guy in the NHL into the All-Star game, even though he was awful. John Scott was an internet meme basically and got put in the All-Star game as a barely NHL fourth line grinder who just fought everybody. Like, this is the stupidity of letting the fans vote. You're not getting deserving players. And it sucks for those guys who deserve it. Not everyone wants to play. That's fine. But you should get the nod if you are the best player at your position for that year. I don't want to know what team you play for. I don't want to know what your name value is. I wish they would just put stats up there and be like, hey, who deserves it?
I mean, they do that when the fans sign in to vote.
No one's looking at that. Very few people look at that. Because if they did, this voting would be very different.
Yeah. And, I'm going to go through the names of the people that moved on real quick. And if you pay attention, there is a pattern that is my big issue. That is my big issue with this.
Every Philly player is on the list. Yeah. Check.
Okay, next. In the American League, catchers, Shea Langoliers and Alejandro Kirk. Mind you, Alejandro Kirk has an OPS this year of right around 600. First base, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's been about a league average hitter.
He's been bad this
and
year.
Ben Rice, who's been one of the best hitters in baseball. Second base, the top vote getter in the American League, Ernie Clement.
Terrible.
I don't even think he's been that good this year. I mean, he had a great postseason run last year, but I don't think he's been that good this year.
And that's what's getting him an All-Star nod right now.
Let me see Ernie Clement's numbers real quick. Ernie Clement has a 753 OPS this year with 7 home runs. 249, 315, 438 slash line, 753 OPS, 103 OPS plus.
It hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been good.
He is the top vote getter in the American League. So Ernie Clement's the starting second baseman for the All-Star game. Third base, Kazuma Okamoto, who's been slightly above league average, and Junior Caminero, who, I mean, he's a name, he's deserving. Why is Munetaka Murakami not here? Shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr., Andres Jimenez. Outfield, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Byron Buxton, Cody Bellinger, Dalton Varsho, and Jesus Sanchez. And then DH, Yordan Alvarez and George Springer. For the National League, catchers, Drake Baldwin and Will Smith. First base, Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson. Second base, Ozzie Albies and Bryson Stott. Third base, Max Muncy, Alec Bohm. Shortstop, CJ Abrams and Mookie Betts. Outfield, Andy Pajes, Brandon Marsh, Ronald Acuna Jr., Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto, and Michael Harris. DH Shohei Ohtani was the top vote getter in the National League. So if you caught along with that, when you have one country, like a whole country that is rallying behind one team, generally that's going to help that country get their players in. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Blue Jays players that are finalists for the All-Star voting. And then in the National League, there is one player of all of these finalists. There is one player that is not either a Los Angeles Dodger, an Atlanta Brave, a Philadelphia Philly, or a New York Met. I mean, the New York Mets don't really have a lot of people either, so I'll count him. There's 2 players that are finalists that are not Dodgers, Braves, or Phillies, and it's C.J. Abrams and Juan Soto. And I think that shows you the big issue when it comes to the All-Star voting. Like, it's going to be very biased towards the
Big market
coast.
teams.
It's going to be very biased towards the Toronto Blue Jays for
being all of Canada. They got one team.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Dylan Dingler, who was 3rd in AL All-Star voting for catchers, he's had a really good season. OPS plus 136. He has 18 homers. He is a Gold Glove caliber catcher.
He should be the starting catcher.
Yeah. If you look at NL outfielders, I know you don't like PCA. PCA is one of the top 3 outfielders in baseball right now.
Who are the other 2?
Andy Pages, who was the top vote getter, and another guy who was snubbed, Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker is, again, very known over the past 2 years as not a very good big league player. This year he's 24 years old. He finally figured it out. I believe he has right around an 860, 870 OPS. Been a very hot and cold season for him, but he is, I believe, 2nd in the National League right now in RBIs. Like I said, close to 900 OPS, and top 3 in the NL outfielders among WAR. And Jordan Walker is not here.
And here's the thing. Ronald Acuña's been not good this year. Why is he on this list? Because his name. Because he's in Atlanta. It's awful. This is why I want to get rid of the voting the way it is. We haven't even talked about second base. The best second baseman finished like 8th in voting.
Yeah,
and yes, you watching this, you can be like, oh, you're a Cardinals fan. No. Let's look at stats. Let's look at stats between J.J. Weatherholt and the 2 finalists. J.J. Weatherholt has a better on-base or OPS than both of them. He has the same amount of home runs as Ozzie Albies. And defensively, he is the best defensive second baseman in baseball. He is going to win a Gold Glove as a rookie. He is just as good,
if not better.
He might. He is just as good, if not better, offensively than both of them. And he is a significantly better defender. Oh, how are you measuring that? He's number 1 in StatCast percentile of fielding. He has 13 fielding run value compared to Stott and Albies, who are both +1. His outs above average is +14 compared to Stott and Albies at 3 and 2. He's on pace for an F-WAR over 7. Would you like to give him the stats of the last time a Cardinal rookie did that?
Yeah, last Cardinal rookie with a 7 or more WAR season, Albert Pujols back in 2001.
You're talking about a player who is putting up numbers that are comparable to Albert freaking Pujols, and he finishes like 8th in voting and doesn't even get a spot in the final, let alone the spot which he deserves. Like, this is why All-Star voting annoys the mess out of me. It is not about who deserves it. It is not about the best players. It's about a popularity contest of the players in the right locations. It's a joke.
Yeah, JJ Weatherholt probably going to win a Silver Slugger and a Gold Glove this year at NL for second base. Also, some guys that missed out too, like some younger guys that missed out. Again, I talked about Munetaka Murakami. He has 20 homers this year. He's
Should be
been
on there.
one of the biggest surprises and one of the biggest reasons why the White Sox are contenders this year. Should be on there. Travis Bazzana should be on there. He 125 OPS this year. I know he hasn't really played the full season this year so far, but Travis Bazzana is a really good player, and he is, in my opinion, probably the best second baseman in the American League. And then the biggest snub, in my opinion, in the American League side of it, we don't have Kevin McGonigal here.
Yeah,
who is
that's crazy.
Probably going to be the Rookie of the Year winner in the American League. Despite having an OPS, again, very much so like JJ Weatherholt, around 800, and one of the best defensive shortstops in the American League. And again, going to win the Rookie of the Year this year. The only rookie that was voted into the All-Star game this year, or voted in as a finalist, was Kazuma Okamoto, who, again, plays for the Blue Jays. So, how do we fix All-Star voting?
I already gave you my opinion. And also, we're talking about Kazuma Okamoto, who's a 29-year-old rookie.
Yeah.
So, I don't count him.
Compared to 21-year-old or 22-year-old Kevin McGonigal and 23-year-old JJ Weatherholt?
Yeah. I already gave you my opinion. Let the players vote. Don't let them vote for their teammates. Let them vote. Because this is a popularity coast contest, and I'm annoyed and sick of it. Like, I don't want to watch the Yankees play the Dodgers in an All-Star game. I also don't care about the All-Star game because it's an absolute joke. We change the home run derby rules every 5 seconds because it sucks. And the All-Star game is meaningless and no one cares and no one wants to play. Shoot, the celebrity softball game might be the most entertaining part of the whole thing. Scrap it. Who cares? It's awful. Tell them, hey, these are the All-Stars. We're not playing. Congratulations, you're an All-Star. It would be fine with me because no one wants to play the game anyway. I don't think there's a good fix.
Would it be a decent fix if they didn't do the All-Star game mid-season? Like, in terms of having players that actually want to play the game? Because I know there are some sports that do that.
Like a Pro Bowl at the end of the season type of thing?
Maybe. I don't know.
I hate all of it. The NFL players don't want to play in that either. Also, you put it between championship week and the Super Bowl, so you don't even get some of the best players. So I don't think, if you look at All-Star games for every sport, the NBA one might be the best because, well, and it's going downhill because the slam dunk contest sucks now. But like this 3-point shooting contest, slam dunk contest, like there's some intrigue there. Home run derby is not fun anymore. It used to be entertaining, but I don't enjoy it at all. The NHL All-Star game, the NHL All-Star game has potential, but it's stupid how they do it now, and hardly any players get in. Like the skills competition's actually fairly entertaining, but other than that, like these sports All-Star games suck. None of the players want to go. Like literally, the NHL put a thing out a couple years ago where if you are selected and you are not injured and you don't want to go, you get suspended for the first game back because they're sick of everyone trying to opt out. Like, and that's where we're at with all of this.
Yeah, and by the way, I didn't think that was like the answer either. I was just talking about trying to in terms of getting more players interested in playing.
I don't think it matters.
It's like you can't play the All-Star game in November, but
you could. There's indoor parks.
I think in terms of getting the right players in there, I think it's interesting because your answers to it of having the coaches decide and having the players decide, that is a thing. That's kind of how the rest of the roster gets filled out. Like the fans decide the starters and then everyone else decides everyone else. And it sounds kind of
Well,
backwards to
okay,
me.
hold on. What if we have the fans and the coaches and the players say, "Hey, we've decided the team based on our voting. You guys, here's the players at each position. You can vote who starts and flip it."
I think that's an interesting idea
Because
because
you at least get the players that deserve to be there in there, and then the fans can be like, "Okay, now we can have our popularity contest." Or at least they go, "Oh, I might not have chose either of these players. Let me actually look at the stats this time."
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the All-Star game is something that is there for the fans. So they should have a say on who is there. Like you said, the players and the coaches and all that, they don't care about the All-Star game. What they care about is the fact that they are now an All-Star or a 2-time All-Star or a 3-time All-Star looks really good in contract negotiations.
Yes, it does.
But
they don't want to go.
But they don't want to go. Which is
also stupid because then like 5 people opt out, and then you have 72 All-Stars for 1 year.
Baseball's a little bit better about it. The only time players really opt out for baseball is if they're injured or if they pitch the Sunday before the All-Star game.
Well, yeah, and then they'll be like, "Hey, coach, don't pitch this guy, or this guy in the game. We need them."
Yeah. But yeah, I do think that is a very interesting resolution to it because who is the second best second baseman in the National League? It's not either of these guys. But if it's just for the sake of argument, I don't think Nico has necessarily been the second best second baseman in the league. He might be.
Ketel Marte?
Yeah, but like if you have to tell fans, hey, this is your time to vote, your options are JJ Weatherholt or Nico Horner. Or your options are JJ Weatherholt or Bryce Terang, or JJ Weatherholt and Ketel Marte. I don't even want to put Ketel Marte in there because he would win just off name value. He would win
because name value, yeah, 100%.
But if your options are these guys that are actually the best players at this position and they happen to play in the middle of America and not a lot of people pay attention to them. If your options are JJ Weatherholt or Bryce Terang, that would be a lot more interesting in my opinion and would bring a lot more fans to the game. Like a lot more fans to teams that they don't necessarily pay attention to.
They might learn some ball knowledge.
Yeah.
It would be crazy. What, fans are knowledgeable? That would be amazing.
Yeah. And then I also think it would be a good idea. I don't know if they still do it because I don't pay that much attention to the All-Star game. But something that I used to like is the last chance balloting that they used to have. To where they have the roster announced and then it's like, okay, here's these 5 players that are like fringe All-Star guys that you guys can choose one of them. I think there was one. Does the name Steve Tollefson mean anything to you?
Nope.
Steve Tollefson was like really.
They discontinued the last chance ballot in 2019.
Yeah, I thought they did, but Steve Tollefson was like a really bad reliever for like his entire career, except for 1 year. And this isn't the right guy. It's not Steve Tollefson. Who I'm trying to remember this guy's name. He was a reliever. Yeah, I think so. He was a reliever for the Rangers in like 2013, 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. If you're a Rangers fan, it's not Steve Tollefson because he's a random like utility infielder that the Blue Jays and Orioles used to have. But let me know if you remember him. Let me know who that guy is.
2013 Rangers reliever Tanner Scheppers was a candidate.
It might be Tanner Scheppers.
He did not win. The American League last chance vote was won by Blue Jays reliever Steve Delabar.
Steve Delabar might be it. I think I'm getting like the two guys confused because they were both really bad, if I remember right.
I've never heard of either of them.
Steve Delabar and Tanner Shepard, both that was what it was. But they were really bad, but they were really good for 1 year. And that brought in so much more fun because I'm trying to figure out who these guys are. And meanwhile, I think the National League was like Yasiel Puig and
Gross.
like after a month in the big leagues and a bunch of other guys that are like, again, breakout stars for the first time as like 20-something-year-olds, like mid to late 20-year-olds. I don't know. It brought so much fun, and it made me think so much more about what I really value as a baseball fan. That was like my peak of knowing baseball.
My peak.
Yeah, because like now I pay so much more attention to other sports. It's hard to like
here you
be
go.
an expert at
2013
anything.
for the NL was between Freddie Freeman, who won, Yasiel Puig, Hunter Pence, Ian Desmond, and Adrian Gonzalez. So you have some pretty big names on that ballot.
Yeah, but like it was more fun. It was more fun, in my opinion, with the Steve Delabar and the Tanner Shepards. And
the fact that it came down to between two just nobody relievers is hilarious.
And again, I think that's who those ballots are for. Is for the guys the Ernie Clements of the world. Who I know Ernie Clement's a little bit bigger of a name now because of his playoff performance. But yeah, I don't know. I think, like I said, I think at that point it really was my peak in baseball knowledge because now at that point I was like just a baseball fan. Like I watched football, but I didn't really pay that close attention to it. And now it's at a point to where I need to know so many things about so many different sports. I almost kind of like don't know as much like in depth about all the other sports. But yeah, I think that would be a really good fix too. So there you go. We just fixed the All-Star game voting. Woo! Major League Baseball, you're welcome. Do that. If you have
we can also fix your CBA problems as well. Just go ahead and hire us.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit more of an issue that we would need to talk about. But if you have a fix to your All-Star or to what you think the All-Star game should do, let us know in the comments because this is terrible how we're doing it right now. And also, if you're a Dodgers fan or a Braves fan or a Phillies fan and you think it's perfect, or a Blue Jays fan and you think it's perfect, let us know how stupid we are because you're going to do that anyway.
And by that, we mean you're an idiot because you clearly don't care about anything.
We've talked ad nauseum since October about how much we're hated by Dodgers fans now. So yeah, Dodgers fans, let us know how much you hate us. Let's make them hate us a little bit more and talk about this CBA issue.
We're gonna go on strike. Say it with me. You even thought it the other day. For the first time, you admitted it's happening next year.
I knew there was gonna be like we were gonna miss out on baseball. I was questioning if it was gonna be the full year. It might be the full year.
It's gonna be the full year.
I still don't think it's 2 years like you think.
Maybe more.
I know. Sorry, I clicked into a survey that I didn't want to from MLB.com.
MLB.com, we never want to take a survey. Stop asking us.
But I still don't think it's going to be 2 years. I still question as to whether it's going to be a full year. But it seems more because it could also just be the fact that these are the very early stages of these negotiations. But
you're halfway through the season on the last year of your deal. Do you?
Yeah, I think
like if we're talking about how close they are, let's put this in perspective. The U.S. Alaska and Florida is about where they are right now in their negotiations. They are so far off, it's not even close. They can't agree on one thing, let alone a whole deal.
But negotiations generally tend to take their next steps after the season ends anyway. Like, we knew there was going to be a work stoppage, at least to the extent of what we saw in 2022 when the CBA ended in November and we didn't get an agreement till February. Or till March.
You're missing out. You're missing a year.
What?
We're missing a year. I'm just letting you know.
It could be that it's, in my opinion, it's almost definitely going to go into the season. It might be even more than that because we're dealing with so many more hot button topics like a salary cap than we did in any years past, really, since 1994. I still have hope that we're at least going to get baseball in 2028, unlike you.
We'll see.
I think there's a chance it could be in 2027. But, yeah, earlier this week, Major League Baseball put out, in addition to their proposals that they had for this collective bargaining agreement, and some of it sounds good. Some of it is pretty bad. I don't know. So basically, Major League Baseball is wanting to do away with high school draft picks for starters. It would only be college players.
It's an interesting idea.
In exchange for that, they're deciding to, instead of 6 years of club control, do 5 years if you are at that point 30 years old or older. Also, they are trying to do away with contracts that are more than 5 years unless you are a player returning to your old team. Then you can have a 6th year on a contract. They're also, in exchange for that, trying to increase the minimum salary from $780,000 to $1 million. $1 million for people with a full year of service time. They are also trying to do away with the arbitration system. Or no, not the arbitration system, with the qualifying offer.
Qualifying offer.
And what is it? I didn't even read this. The cornerstone player advantage. Oh yeah, no, that's the 5-year thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think there's something too in there regarding people that, I don't know what this, I'm going to share my screen real quick, because do you know what this this chart is that I'm looking at?
Maximum contract.
Sorry, guys, we didn't do a whole lot of, or we did a lot of vetting to this, but there are different things in here that we're not seeing, that we didn't see last time. So when it comes to contract negotiations, there's so many things that go into effect, and we are not experts at this. So we're trying to figure this out.
This seems like this is, if we're talking about non-free agents, this is like
extensions.
Kids,
okay,
extensions basically.
I saw Connor Griffin,
if you have zero service time, you can sign a 12-year deal. So we're talking about like a Connor Griffin who's 20 years old. You can sign him to a 12-year deal. Now, the longer MLB experience you have, the less extension you can sign. Because once you hit that last category where it was the 6 years, that's when they're saying you're a free agent now, no ARB anymore control. So then you can only sign that 6 or that 5-year deal.
Yeah, which I hate that, by the way. Like, never played in the big leagues before. Yeah, we'll give you a 12-year contract.
It almost incentivizes players to sign contracts early.
And I do think that's what they're trying to do.
And again, I think that's what it is.
They are trying to make... Basically, they're trying to save money is the best way they can put it. But how they're trying to frame it is they are trying to, at the beginning of your career, they're trying to give you more money, and they're trying to save money on the back end when people are signing free agent deals.
But here's my question. They say that, but if I'm 26-year-old now as a free agent and I can only sign a 5-year deal in free agency, well, now I'm 31. I have a chance to get another 5-year deal in free agency. So I have really two full cracks at getting two big free agent deals.
But you're pairing that with a
instead of
salary cap.
one. That's true. But I get two chances at getting a big contract.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird talking about in 2026 that, again, a 26-year-old could hit free agency one day and could max out
First of all, it's a joke that they have to wait that long to get to free agency. Like, they need to shorten the length of team control and ARB.
Yeah,
from rookie to whatever. Like, that's an absolute joke. When players are still in ARB after 30 years old, that's insane. That's how they're keeping a lot of these contracts down now. The problem is the really good ones that get there quick go through ARB quicker. But those ones that have played in the minors and needed more time to develop, they're screwed. So the best way to make money right now is to be a high school player that gets to the big leagues the quickest. There's not incentive if they're good enough to get drafted to go to college, because it means that they're going to be 22 by the time they get drafted. And after their 6 years of ARB, we're talking about 28 at like the earliest of them being able to get any money.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to do like 4 years instead of 6 years.
I don't know what, like, the NFL, I don't like it either. They get paid more money right off the top, though.
The NFL
so that's a little different. It's 4.
It's 3, but if you're a first round pick, it's 4 with a 5th year option.
5th year option. Yeah. So like, that seems like a lot, especially when the NFL players are playing a lot less years. But they're also getting paid millions of dollars right off the bat. Like, if you're a first or second round pick, like, you're making money. Where as a minor leaguer, you're not making jack squat. The NHL, it is. Well, yeah. The NHL, it is a 3-year ELC where it's $950K or whatever it is. Now you can have incentives and stuff on top of that, but then after that, you basically have like 2 RFA, which is like our years. So most of these players in the NHL are getting to free agency at 25, 26 years old, where we're not seeing that in the NHL. And the NHL also has, I'm comparing them because I know it the best, and it's kind of a direct relation with what MLB is trying to do here, is teams, I don't remember what year they did it, but one of their CBAs, they banned how long you could sign a player for. You can't have those 10, 12, 15-year contracts like they used to. So now the NHL is, if you are re-signing with the team you are currently with, you can sign an 8-year extension. And that is the absolute longest you can sign. If you are a free agent, a UFA, which is same as just a UFA player, you can sign a max of a 7-year contract. So signing with your team. Now, there's ways around it. Like, we've seen it this offseason. You can do a sign-in trade where you're like, I'm going to sign them to an 8-year deal and then instantly trade them to this other team that we've already made a deal with and they've talked to them. That's fine, whatever. But they can't exceed that 8 years, no matter what. So, like, there is kind of like, the MLB is looking at the NHL. I watched an interview with the person, one of the people that's doing some of the MLB side of it, and he has said, we are working, because he was talking on a hockey podcast with somebody. They're like, how does this compare? He's like, we are directly using those negotiations of what they looked like and how they went, because the same person that led the NHL ones are leading the MLB ones for the MLB side with the owners. So they kind of already have their tactic of what they're going to be looking for, how they're going to go about it, kind of the low blows they're going to throw. And so they're using those side-by-side comparisons. So if you haven't looked at some of the NHL stuff, I know some of you aren't hockey fans, that's fine. But, like, look at their CBA, because we're going to see some very similar things that are going to happen here.
Yeah, and I also know they are kind of inspired by each other in a lot of senses because they do a lot of work. Like their networks do a lot of work together for being in
Yeah.
the same studio. So a lot of times, you'll see these hockey people that are very familiar with a lot of the baseball people that are coming in, and vice versa. So I know that really helps. Do you think a 3-year like club control thing, maybe without arbitration, even, and then leading up to free agency where they can max out at 5 or 6 years or whatever, but hit free agency at 25 instead of 28? Do you think that would be a better, uh, I guess, a better give and take for these contract negotiations?
Yeah. I don't know that either side would agree to that. I think players want to be able to get those 12 million, those 12 years deals and get excessive money and for sure be locked into it rather than get there a little bit earlier. Because if they get there at 27, 28, teams are still giving out these 10 or 12-year deals. They don't care that it's taken them to 38 or 40 years old. We keep seeing it. But that's only for the high end player. And that's the problem. Like this middle tier of like good players, but not superstars, man, they're getting screwed. And I think it benefits the lower end and the middle tier of players better if you do something like that because you get them to free agency quicker and you get them in their prime years instead of, oh, they're finally a pretty solid player now, but they're 31. Why do we want to give them a 5-year deal when they're just okay? We're going to give them a 1 or 2 year deal at $15 million and they never get to make their money. So I think the lower end players, middle to lower end players, would like that a lot. I don't think the high end players are going to like that because it's going to take years and money out of their pocket. So I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
I think we're at a point right now where the players union needs to figure out who they're actually prioritizing. If they're prioritizing those guys that are going to make good money anyway, but instead of 50 million a year, it might be 30 million a year, and in exchange put a little bit more money in the pockets of, those role players, you know, I'll say Brendan Donovans or Lars Nootbaars of the world who got to the big leagues at 24, 25 years old and are just grinders that aren't going to make that high end money, but are going to make more through only having 3 years of club control instead of
Well, here, I'll
having
give
to
you a good
negotiate
one because
arbitration.
we discussed it the other day. Alec Burleson.
Yeah,
He's still
I mean
got
him
ARB
too.
years and he's like 28 years old. And he's not going to be like, does he take a smaller, like 5 year, $75 million contract because it'll make him a little more right now? Because if he waits a couple years, just goes through ARB, makes less, and then he gets the free agency at 30, 31, like what's he going to get then? How many years is he going to get? Is he going to get
I
more
mean,
money? Is he going to get less? Who knows? So like those are the type of players that we should be talking about here because that, like you said, that's what MLB has to decide. Who are you catering to? Are you catering to the superstars who are going to make bank anyway? Or are you catering to the players that are getting screwed over right now?
yeah, Alec Burleson's the guy that's going to get like a Tommy Edman-esque deal. It's like 5 or 6 years for 70
Tommy
to
Edman
75
did
million
not
dollars.
deserve the money he got. That
He
was a
didn't, but
stupid
that's
contract.
I mean, that's like the type of contract that Alec
Yes.
Burleson's going to end up getting. 5 to 6 years, 70 to 75 million dollars. And I understand the idea of not wanting to cap how much money a player is capable of making, but there's no way really to benefit everyone. Like again, with CBA negotiations, there's give and take, and at the end of the day, and this is going to sound, you know, I guess in a sense out of touch for two people who just have normal jobs and are going to make normal money regardless.
I'm a
But
teacher. I don't make normal money. I make crap.
but making the difference between making $1.5 million a year and making $750,000 a year people are going to feel a big difference with that compared to someone making $30 million a year versus someone making $50 million a year. Like that $1.5
that's
million at the
life-changing.
lower end.
$750,000 life-changing money, first of all. I would love to make that. I would love to make, a tenth of that. But like, if you're talking about someone making $750K in the MLB with the travel, the things that goes into it, the lifestyle they have to live to keep in shape, the diet, all that stuff that goes into it, you're literally doubling what you make at that low, as bad as that sounds, that low of a salary. Like, that is massive. Like, because you think about it, that's 2 years of salary that you're making in one instead. 30, like, and I don't think 30 million and 50 million, you're like, oh, that's $20 million. That's a lot. You're right. It is a lot. But they already have $30 million. What more do they need? Like, honestly.
And
that's
that's
what it
where we're
comes
going to
down to
sound
me.
out of touch to an extent for the people making that kind of money. Because we're never going to see that kind of money.
Sorry, your house costs more per month than I make in a salary in a year. Calm down. They're not watching us anyway.
And
they're living in their mansions with their sports cars and doing their vacations in their 7 houses. So I don't care what they think.
Yeah, and you brought in hockey. I'll bring in like MMA fighter pay to an extent, because that's kind of more what I have been paying attention to over the past few years, to where that's kind of the talk with MMA fighters right now too, especially with the relationship right now between MMA and boxing, to where it becomes a question. Like, MMA fighters' pay gets a bad rap because they should. The stars are not getting paid a whole lot of money. You can fight in a title fight and make $1 million, $2 million, when there's boxers that no one's ever heard of, like a Conor Benn, who is making $15 million a fight. But
never heard of that dude.
Yeah, he signed with Dana White's boxing organization to make $15 million a fight, when there are like the top end guys like an Alex Pereira, who is fighting for the title every single one of his fights. He's making like maybe $10 million a fight. And then there's guys like Sean Strickland, who's a champion,
Again,
and Tom
$10 million.
Aspinall, who's a champion. But then there's guys like Sean Strickland, who's a champion, and Tom Aspinall, who's a champion, and guys who, like, again, are the top of the sport. And they're probably making $1 million a fight for a championship fight, if that. But also at the bottom level, guys in MMA are probably making a little bit more. To where normally when you first get into the UFC, it's a $10,000 to show, $10,000 to win, $12,000 to show, $12,000 to win, 14 to show, 14 to win, or something like that. To where a lot of low level boxers are probably making some 5 to show, 5 to win, or something like that. So it kind of just comes down to, what do you prioritize more? In MMA, they probably prioritize the champions more and the superstars more, because Sean O'Malley getting paid $600,000 to fight at the White House when he's a former champion is ridiculous, especially when he's going to end up getting a title shot again pretty soon. A guy on his first contract, you got to fight 3 times a year. You can lose all of them and you're making 40 grand. If you win all of them, you're making 80 grand. That's not a lot for what UFC fighters need to do. 80 grand is a decent living. It's not going to be a lot.
Than me.
Well, after they pay their coaches, after they
and their dues, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not more than you, really, but
it's more than me.
Oh. But in this conversation specifically, especially with, we didn't even bring up the fact that minor leaguers are still to an extent getting very underpaid.
It's better than it
again,
was, but it's still bad.
We're getting to the point to where the top contracts have gotten so out of control. Like we've talked about, $765 million for Juan Soto, $700 million for Shohei Ohtani, that it comes time to where we need to start talking more about the guys that aren't making a lot. And again, that goes right into the conversation that no one wants to have. Oh, salary cap, salary floor, blah blah blah. The salary floor is going to go up if we're forcing those bottom end guys to make more money.
Well, and they've offered a significant
natural.
floor. Like, wasn't it like 150 was the original offer?
I think it was like 170.
And that's like, think about if the floor is 170. How many teams are currently spending 170?
I think it's like 15. Like, I think half of the league. I think half of the league is over that floor.
So you're having over half of the league that has to significantly pay more money. So you are going to see raises for these players.
Yeah, I think that's where the whole salary cap issue comes into effect. And, you know, Dodgers fans don't like it, and Yankees fans and Mets fans and all of these
Blue Jays,
the John Boys of the world who, you know,
I hate John Boy.
love the love these coastal teams that are able to bring in more money and in turn pay their players more money, even with revenue sharing, because revenue sharing doesn't really work as well as a lot of people think it does. Yeah. I think that's something that they need to ask themselves too, is does seeing a $1 billion contract one day in Major League Baseball, you know, and seeing $400 million salary caps or $400 million payrolls, is seeing those worth seeing that big of a wage disparity in Major League Baseball?
It's not. It's not at all. And that's the problem.
Yeah, so, you know, as much as the conversation with payroll and floor and all that stuff has gotten kind of heated in our comment section, I would like to actually see a conversation with people. So, like, if you are one of those people that are huge Dodgers fans or Mets fans or whatever and love the fact that your team's able to spend this kind of money, let us know what you think when it comes to the argument of, you know, again, is Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto making $50 to $70 million a year? Would you rather see that, or would you rather see the role players and the guys that don't
Here's the problem with that. You're telling them to do that. They're not rational to do that because they never have to worry about that. Well, yeah, we want to see it because we're going to buy all of them. We can do this and blah, blah, blah. You should just do that and you should do that. It's not possible. It is not possible. So those fans come yell at me. I don't care. You're not rational to think about this because your team doesn't ever have to worry about it. So you're like, oh, why do we care? I would rather see Shohei make $1 billion because we can pay for it. So it doesn't even concern us that these other guys, who cares what they make? Like, that's the problem with us having a rational conversation. Is there irrational fans trying to have the conversation? Because the rational fans are the ones sitting here going, man, this is not a good look. The ones sitting here going, this isn't sustainable.
Well, whether you're rational or not, let us know what you think in the comments.
Oh, I'm sure we'll hear the irrational idiots. So come at me, Dodgers.
This is where we're going to end this video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Again, let us know what you think about everything we talked about in the comments, from the CBA negotiations, the All-Star voting. If you're a Mets fan, let us know what you think about Carlos Mendoza and the state of your franchise.
And who should manage.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the answers.
If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please be sure to, download, stream it,
whatever,
do all that stuff. I I still don't really know a whole lot about Spotify. So Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I don't use Apple Podcasts. But if you do, and that's
Like,
where you find your
follow.
podcast,
Like,
like,
follow,
follow.
listen.
Yeah. So yeah, be sure to do that. If you're a fan of other sports, we follow those too. And also keep an eye out because I am going to be starting a YouTube channel myself soon, where you don't have to deal with all these other guys.
I know you'll be sad not to hear me.
And it'll be a lot shorter content too. So you won't see me talk for an hour 20 straight because I don't even think I'm capable of that. So yeah, let us know what you think about everything. We're excited for how this baseball season is going to end, how it's going to play out over the next month. A lot of fun stuff going on. So we'll see you guys next time.
See you.